Welcome to The Explainer. You know, we've all seen this story play out. You have two brilliant tech products, but only one goes on to become this beloved, category-defining leader, while the other one, well, it just kind of fades away. So why does that happen? Today, we're diving into Martina Launchinger's book, Loved, to get to the bottom of it. To really get this, let's kick things off with a classic Silicon Valley David versus Goliath story. So in the world of Read It Later apps, you had Instapaper. This thing was the industry darling. I mean, it was created by Tumblr's lead engineer. The tech press absolutely adored it. And in the other corner, you had this small, scrappy little underdog of an app called Read It Later. But then, over time, something really surprising started to happen. That underdog, which later rebranded as Pocket, was eventually snapped up by Mozilla with 20 million users. It didn't just hang in there, it went on to completely own the category. So the big question is, how on earth did the underdog pull this off? It wasn't because it was a better product, and it wasn't about having more features. Both of the apps were actually fantastic. The difference was something else entirely. The answer, it turns out, lies in what might just be the most misunderstood and honestly underutilized secret weapon in the entire tech playbook. And that weapon was strategic product marketing. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of marketing that just, churns out press releases and makes sales sheets. No, we're talking about the deep, strategic work that forges the critical link between a great product and the market that's just waiting to fall in love with it. This is the foundational stuff. As the author Martina Launchingo says, building a brand that people truly love isn't about just doing more marketing. It's about doing better product marketing right from the very start. The whole point here is to be intentional, right? To strategically shape how the market actually perceives your product. It's not just about listing off your features, it's about creating a context, a world, where your product's value becomes completely undeniable. And this is a perfect masterclass of how Pocket won. Think about it. They rebranded from the super functional Read It Later to Pocket, a name that just feels like you can save anything, which instantly broadened their appeal. They brilliantly connected themselves to that whole anytime, anywhere trend that was making Dropbox and Netflix huge. They went from paid to free, which was a massive move to just let people experience the magic. And they armed influencers with compelling stories that gave their features real, meaningful context. So how does this strategic work actually work? Well, Launchenko breaks it all down into 4 fundamental roles. Getting these right is what separates a product that's just, launched from one that is truly deeply loved. All right, first up, the ambassador. This role is all about being the voice of the customer and the market inside the company. You're there to make sure every single decision is grounded in what's actually happening in the real world. A great example of this is Dropbox. The team thought their analytics were telling them everything they needed to know, but when they actually got out of the building and went to visit customers in person, they discovered the real reason people loved their product. It was an insight the data had completely missed, and it changed their entire strategy. Next up, we've got the strategist. Look, this isn't just about checking off a list of tasks. This is about directing the product's entire journey to the market with a clear, intentional, and really smart plan. When Pocket launched version 5.0, they didn't just send out a press release like everyone else. No, they hosted an entire event called Pocket Matters. See, this wasn't just about announcing new features. It was a power move, a strategic play to define and lead the entire category on their own terms. The third fundamental is the storyteller. This is all about crafting that core narrative. The messaging that makes a product stick in people's minds and connect on an emotional level. I mean, just think about the pure genius of Expensify's early tagline, "Expense reports that don't suck." It's so authentic, it's emotional, and it perfectly captures the user's pain in a way that a list of features never, ever could. You read that, and you immediately feel understood. This is what great storytelling can do. When Microsoft Word had a pretty light feature release coming up, the team didn't apologize for it. Instead, they framed the new automatic spell check, that famous red squiggly line, as this amazing story about smart automation. They turned a potential weakness into a massive beloved win. And finally, we have the evangelist. And this is key. This isn't about you telling your story. It's about enabling other people to tell it for you. creating this incredible, powerful flywheel of organic growth. The study app Quizlet is just a perfect example of this. For its first decade in business, it spent literally $0 on marketing. So how did it grow? Simple. The product was so good and so useful that teachers and students became its evangelists, spreading the word for them. That is the ultimate goal right there. Okay, so you've got these 4 big roles: ambassador, strategist, storyteller, and evangelist. But how do you actually get them all working together in a single coherent plan? Well, Lashenko offers a beautifully simple but powerful tool just for this. It's called the Product Go-to-Market Canvas, and it's a really simple 4-step process. You start with the outside world, what's going on with your customer and in the market. Then you layer in your product plans for the year. After that, you define your high-level strategy. And finally, you nail down the specific activities that will bring it all to life. And here's what it looks like. This single page aligns everybody. I'm talking product, marketing, sales, the whole team around one shared plan. It makes sure that every single activity, from a webinar in Q1 to a special price in Q4, is directly tied to a bigger strategy. What's the result? Well, no more random acts of marketing. Everything has a purpose. Because at the end of the day, building a great product is really only half the job. The real challenge, the other half of the equation, is creating the conditions for that product to be truly loved. So, as you think about your own work, the question becomes pretty unavoidable, doesn't it? You've poured everything you have into building your product, but what's your strategy for making it loved?